Hello, everybody. You could call me Hunch. Now, why do you call me Hunch? Well, it's because I've got a hunch. Most of you can admit to that. My hunch has been stacks and Bitcoin DeFi. We've done well. Probably well if you, better than if you were on your own, I must admit. Now, everything I say is not financial advice. This is a theoretical case study based on the bull market that is supposedly going on. Now, whether we've topped out or we have sideways chop, I do think that's a real possibility, right? If you think about the world like a slew of possible outcomes, like spaghetti fingers, right? I do think there's a chance and a good chance that we are just going to move sideways for the next 3 to 6 months. So let's see. But I digress. So today I'm going to be talking about Bitcoin virtual machine, what I know about it so far. Now, I did add this to the theoretical portfolio. And admittedly, during those videos, I said I just don't know much about it. But to me, the risk of not being adding this is too great, right? And that was because of like Celestia and the modularity theme and all this, and the Bitcoin L2 theme, right? And it's got DeFi under it, right? So I had to encompass this, I feel like. And I still feel like that, even though I know that there are large red flags and so on and so forth. But I'm going to go talk about this. Okay, so now I just want to say, just because I'm talking about Bitcoin virtual machine does not mean I'm bailing on Stacks. I think Stacks is the premier L2, okay? I think they're doing it right, not to bulletin network. I think they've been grinding. I think their products are going to be fabulous, especially after Nakamoto, and I think they'll continue to update the network. Now, Digital Asset News just released a thing with 169,000 followers, right, or retweeted this Stacks thing, right? Incredibly bullish. I do think they will, big accounts and people all over the internet will continue to push Stacks at some point. It's almost undeniable. It's like gravity, but for blockchain, in my opinion. This is the way I felt for a long time. Now, let's go talk about BVM. Now, there's not a lot of chart data related to BVM. It's the new token, right? And there's some risks to that I'll bring up. But let's do an overview. So what is BVM? At its most basic form, it's an L2, right? But it's a modular L2. So you should go check out the website. Obviously, the website is flashy. They've had money to make this, right? They have developers. They list all these different protocols, so on and so forth. Now, how does it work? It's very difficult to describe how this works. It's obfuscated, right? But it's difficult to describe how a rollup works in certain respects, right? Okay, so this chart is pretty good, right? So you got a user, sends it to a sequencer, sends it to a prover, okay? Then it goes to a BVM smart contract, okay? If all those things work out. And here's all these data availability layers, okay? So after it gets to the BVM smart contract layer, it will then send it to a data availability layer, right? So Celestia, Filecoin, there's a bunch of other things. So if you go through this and read this, it basically takes you through this in words, right? But this is the important part. The sequencer sends the block data to one of the data availability layers supported by BVM, such as Celestia, Nearby, right? So this is like not only a mutual fund for gaming, AI, right? It's also a mutual fund for all these other data availability layers that they're partnering with. So what does that mean? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know. I am looking at this from an investor perspective and less so from a decentralization, what's best for Bitcoin. So everybody knows what I think is best for Bitcoin. I think it's Stacks. I think it keeps the chain intact. It doesn't have influence over the chain. And I may dump this faster than a hot cake if I find out that it messes with Bitcoin's decentralization, so on and so forth. But I have no reason to believe that. I am very stable. I will think about things very consciously, right, so on and so forth. So this is the way it works. Now, every one of these steps is so technical that I cannot describe every single step for you. As an investor or a theoretical investor, it seems like you have to have some amount of trust that the developers are doing things in the best interest of decentralization. That doesn't mean they are, right? And you have to constantly be on your guard for Bitcoin, right? You have to protect the network, right? So I agree with that. Now, so why are we bullish and how does it work? This is a continuation on it. So the way the data availability system works, think of it like an app store, right? And this is how I'm thinking about it, right? An L2, like a DeFi protocol or a bridge protocol or so on and so forth can go and they can buy a data available layer and basically harness off of that, okay? And then use the Bitcoin virtual machine to help process transactions, so on and so forth. but you're basically buying a piece of something that will help your layer do better. So, for example, if we go to BVM, you know, you might have a modularity thing that helps gaming, right? Or DeFi or AI, right? So AI, I'll talk about it, Eternal AI. This is a layer that's using Bitcoin virtual machine to make their AI L2. Okay, so what does that mean? I continue to stand by the fact that I think AI is a bunch of nonsense on the blockchain, but some people tend to think that it's not. I stand by what I'm saying until proven otherwise. But again, from an investment perspective, this basically hits all the categories, right? Okay, so I think that's undeniable, right? Even with the risks. So there's some other things, right? They got Bitcoin shards that you can stake for BVM and get airdrops, and you can go through this, right? Now, an important thing to note, right? This is NAKA, which is a DeFi L2 under BVM, is what is the wallet? Okay, so the wallet to me is still confusing, right? You can click this thing and hit download and try it yourself. I am not doing that. I am basically telling you in this video, I am adding this to a theoretical portfolio because it is so complicated and so confusing, but it's got enough for me that I think that I can make a huge theoretical bag off of it. Okay, so that's pretty much what it is. I'm not talking about it from a decentralized aspect, right? And as soon as I figure out that it's not really having Bitcoin's best interest in mind, right, I will attack it. Like, for example, I didn't think MERL had Bitcoin's best interest in mind, so I attacked it. As soon as I figure that out, that this is the case, right, and some people have said, well, this is a scam, blah, blah, and so forth. It might be. I am not convinced of that yet, but as soon as I am, I will attack it. Now, so how do I go about this, right? So I use Uniswap. So I go on Uniswap, I search it, right? And you just type in, select the token, you type BVM, okay, and here it is, Bitcoin Virtual Machine. I understand. That's how I do it. I think it's simple. I don't want to mess with the wallets. I don't want to invest. I'm focused on stacks. This is purely from a theoretical portfolio perspective. Okay, now I know you want more, right? You should be using this. You should find this useful, so on and so forth. Why are you shilling us this, right? I'm not shilling you this because I love the products and so on and so forth. I guess I'm sort of theoretically shilling you on this because I think it's a good way to get exposure to everything without drowning your attention everywhere, right? Okay, so think about what I'm saying this to you. I think it's a good way to get exposure to everything without drowning out your attention in every new token that comes out, every different category, whether that's gaming or AI or so on and so forth. This is a Bitcoin L2. It's very obvious that this is part of the narrative, right? So I'm looking at it from an investor's perspective, and I do think that there may be something to the technology that I have yet to see, but I am hopeful that it is there. Okay, so obviously not the biggest allocation in a theoretical portfolio to me, but I do think it belongs in a theoretical portfolio, whether that's a small position or whatever. But again, not financial advice. You don't have to do anything I'm saying. You don't have to listen to me. You can listen to other perspectives, right? The world is not black and white. It's not like I'm right all the time, right? Okay, so they have the NAKA chain, right? You can stake, get interest in BVM, so on and so forth. Now, there's huge risk to this, right? Which I'll talk about here, right? There's the fully diluted valuation is much higher than the market cap, which means there's a lot of shares or tokens locked up from the team, right? That is something you need to pay attention to in terms of if we're topping out, so on and so forth. But relatively low market cap based on the tokens in circulation. What other risks? I'm going to keep talking about that. But first, I don't know if I believe this, but supposedly someone bought $1 million worth of this. I do think because of the narrative, people are going to pump this out of their minds, just like I think they're going to pump stacks out of their minds, right? So now, no, I don't want to do that. So again, if you don't want to get exposure to stamps in every meta protocol there is, right? Near, Filecoin, sorry, not every those aren't meta protocols, but also like TRAC and all those things, stamps. This isn't inclusive of everything. This is as simple as you can make it, getting exposure to everything, right? This is my argument for this. And I could be wrong, right? I absolutely could be wrong. But my argument is there's no way to put your attention everywhere. Are you going to do stamps? Are you going to do TRAC? Are you going to do runes, right? Are you going to do the next meta protocol? I think that is a horrible, horrible strategy, right? So, right, an AI L2, right? So I think it's important to again reiterate, they're using these modules or nodules or whatever they are to launch their L2, and they basically use BVM. I don't know if they have to pay in BVM to use them. I don't know that relationship. It's very complex, right? So that's why I'm telling you the risks. Okay. So they're also integrating with OKX. Now this to me is a red flag, right? ORNJ is partnering with a bunch of TRAC things, which I'll show you, and they still haven't released a wallet. That doesn't mean I'm not bullish on ORNJ. I'm still bullish on ORNJ. I think it's going to be a good DeFi token to add to a theoretical portfolio. But there are risks that I try to mention to you, right, that nobody else does. Okay. Now, right, maybe it's just pumping. Here's another risk. Maybe it's just pumping because airdrops, right? Nobody really cares about it. They just want the airdrops. Okay. Now, I just want to address this thing. Somebody wrote, and it had 100,000 views, that BVM was a scam. They released a bunch of other tokens, so on and so forth. You know, this guy is saying that he got blocked. Excuse me. Now, just reading this thread, I'm not convinced that it's a scam, right? I mean, you could be, right? I could not be. That's up to basically luck, guess, maybe a little bit of deciphering. You know, do you trust your intelligence? Do you trust my intelligence? I tend to want to trust myself. And I'm not convinced from what this guy wrote, or this girl wrote, that this is a scam. Could I be wrong? Sure. Could I still make a ton of theoretical Bitcoin on a scam? Yes, you can. Look at meme tokens. Look at Luna, right? Now, I know that sounds crazy because I'm always saying, you know, you need to focus on decentralization. You need to focus on what's right, and I agree. But from this tweet thread where he's outlining the risks, how they keep changing, they keep releasing different tokens, so on and so forth, I'm not convinced that this is a scam. But I could be wrong, right? You know, I'm not a programmer, right? It's very difficult. And even programmers aren't perfect with these things. So again, now I want to talk about TRAC. This is interesting to point out, okay? I think this is very important. So when Ordinals first came out and this released, right, this pumped way up, right, to $1.45. And then subsequently, and I haven't even entered here, right? It went to $1.45 over from July all the way to like October or November when I started talking about it in the 20s, right? All right, down in this region, or maybe it was down here, wherever it was, and maybe it was October or September, right? It was in the low 20s when I started talking about it. It subsequently pumped like insanely ridiculous amounts, okay? I think there's a very good possibility, and I couldn't be wrong, right? And let's see it. Let's give her a refresh here. Hopefully we're back over 3, baby. No, we're down 2 cents. I think there's a possibility that that's what's happening right now. Okay, with this, everybody's walking away, right? And, you know, I get it, right? There's new shiny things, right? But this plays perfectly into my argument about why BVM, right? It encapsulates everything. I think there's a possibility that's what's happening here, and that's because TAP hasn't come out. But they have so many partnerships with everything that I like. Ghosty Cash, ORNJ, you know, you're going to be able to use your TRAC to validate the network or whatever they do. I think that this is possible, that this is what happened down here is happening now, right? It's about the same time period from here to here before it went on a massive run. I think there's a chance that this is happening. Now, again, you may want to exit. This could go to 0. Absolutely. There's red flags, just like ORNJ. They have not released a product. To me, I'm not ready to walk away, right? But I invested at 20 cents, and it doesn't mean I didn't take some when it peaked, when it was at mid-peak, up along the way. It doesn't mean any of those things, right? I'm not going to tell you when to buy. I'm not going to tell you when to sell, right? I am not your financial advisor, and you shouldn't be doing this anyway. This is degenerate level stuff, okay? So, again, ORNJ, partnership with Ghosty, right? what does that mean? Is it just getting listed on Ghosty? Is it going to have a partnership in the wallet? I don't know. I think it would be interesting if Ghosty integrates with ORNJ, right? That would, to me, be like the most insanely bullish thing ever. Like a wallet that has some privacy to it, that is integrated with a different protocol on top of it. I mean, it's just so bullish. I can't even imagine what's more bullish. Well, I can, and that's stacks. Okay. Now, it could be wrong. These all could go horribly wrong. That's why you need to have, obviously, the highest allocation to, like, Bitcoin, right? But even Bitcoin could fail, right? Okay, so, and then I just wanted to say, stacking DAO, absolutely blowing everything out of the water. You know, I mean, April 1st, 120 million on liquid stacking. I mean, this thing is getting up there with the best of the best, right? I mean, you could see it here. It's gaining, right? It's got a partnership with NAKA. Okay, so just more and more establishing its dominance. I mean, they are not waiting at all. Oh, where's my face? Anyway, everything I say is not financial advice. I do think BVM belongs in a theoretical portfolio, but again, it doesn't have to. You don't have to listen to me. The only way you're going to make it is not by copying me, right? It's going to be you critically thinking or hitting a meme coin or getting lucky, right? We're all on our own path. So I've got a hunch. And my hunch is do your own thing, but just listen, learn. That's all that I'm here for. You can call me Hunch. I love you so much.